How's it going, everybody? Bryan Alvarez here on Wrestling Observer Live. We are here every day, Monday through Friday, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern, Sunday, 3 Pacific, 6 Eastern, Saturday mornings with Jim Valley, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 Eastern. And it is Thursday here on the show, and I am here, and we got a lot to talk about here today. Not really a lot of news, but I think we got a lot of fun things to discuss on this show. We'll also be taking your feedback as always. And I want to mention that yesterday we did in fact pull off After Dark Radio successfulully. Went off without a hitch. So you can hear that as a subscriber at WrestlingObserver.com. And I will throw this out today as has more to do with After Dark than this show, but I did set up an After Dark email address. So instead of the old email me here and put After Dark in the subject line or whatever, you can email Bryan at AfterDarkRadioshow.com. Send me whatever you want. That's Bryan at AfterDarkRadioshow.com. That is the After Dark email. So we'll start going through those next week on the show as well. This week, well, it's Wrestling Observer Live. So Bryan at WrestlingObserver.com, F4WOnline at gmail.com. Those are the email addresses. Threads, Instagram, and Cameo. I am F4WOnline. At Bryan Alvarez on X and Blue Sky. And you can text us today, 425-780-7566. It's not Fun Friday, but we may open up those phone lines. Because really all we got to talk about today is the Dynamite Show and a lot of stuff surrounding the Dynamite Show. Gigantic ratings for NXT. The likely imminent return of Nikki Bella. And TNA heading to Full Sail to do a live show and also some taped shows as well. And you'll probably be seeing more of that in the future. There is a live Impact Tonight live and plenty more. So we're going to get into everything after the break. Going to be a fun day. Thrilling Thursday. Back in a moment. Observer Live.
Make a little note. I'm not only the former, but I'm the soon-to-be again. Women's World.
There you go.
I believe in myself. I never lost a championship, and I want an opportunity to be a champion again, so we can finish business the right way. Is that right, guys? Yeah. Is that right? And that's why we're gonna be here and all in, because we're gonna finish business the right way. Saturday, July 12th. Tickets are gonna be available. We are super excited. Me as part of the women's division, believe me, we are ecstatic that we're gonna bring this to the United States, and I'm ecstatic because it's gonna be here in Texas, and I'm pretty sure, I'm saying this, that I'm gonna be in All In next year. It's damn time that I'm gonna be here performing. I see you over there, Busted Open Nation. What's up? See? You, yes, you. They listen to us on the radio. Everybody knows about AEW. Everybody knows that we've been working super hard for the last 5 years, guys. And it's because of you that we have been able to do what we have. Because you believe in ourselves just as much as Tony Khan does. He believes in this crazy idea that a lot of people say that it wasn't going to be possible. And look at us now. Look at us now. Here. Global Field Stadium. Big show.
What I wanted to make sure of is to put on a good show for you guys and just have an opportunity. I had to do a check with myself a couple years ago, and I said, how does my body feel? How does my body look? Can I go on more? And all those answers were, I feel great, I can go more, and I can do more. And Tony Khan gave me the opportunity to do more, so that's what I'm doing. I'm coming out here to try to have... And another thing, there was a group that we started a couple years back that we didn't have an opportunity to do what we wanted to do and really show you guys what we were capable of.
What's up, everybody? Hey, I'm in a good mood.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the other day we were talking about how people don't like Charlotte, and so invariably everything is Charlotte's fault? Now we're getting the same thing with Jon Moxley. People don't like the Death Rider storyline. It's all his fault. It is not, everyone. Let me tell you something.
It's partially his fault.
If you are watching AEW and you think something is awesome, then you can thank Tony Khan. If you watch AEW and you think something sucks, you can blame Tony Khan. The big stars, your Jon Moxleys, your Chris Jerichos, your Adam Copelands, they all have a lot more influence than, for example, a Private Party, your MJFs, for example, but they ain't running the show. There's one guy running the show. His name is Tony Khan.
The buck stops there.
Yeah, with Tony, not the Bucks. I realize there are people that people don't like, and so it's always like the people you don't like get the blame, but if you like somebody and things are going well, it's like, well, Tony's booking them well or whatever. No, it is Tony Khan. It is his company. He's always going to run the show. It doesn't matter who they hire, if they ever hire a new booker or whatever. It is Tony Khan's show. He's running the show. If you like it, it's Tony. If you don't like it, it's Tony. That's the end of the story there.
Are you doing Mid-South 1985? Is that what you're
84.
doing right now? 84, okay. See, you probably are never going to make it to 1985, where Mid-South, after really doing well with smaller guys, the Rock and Roll Express, the Midnight Express, Terry Taylor, Bill Dundee, as the booker, they started to get a little bit big again. And you started to see guys like The Nightmare came in, and he was the champion. And they started going back. I think Bob Sweetan may have come back at that point, sadly enough. But I look at AEW's tag team division and just kind of AEW in general, and boy, they seem to be going big, aren't they? And I'm not going to complain about this.
Big or old? Or
big.
both?
Look, here's the thing. I can understand some valid complaints about them being quote-unquote old. The company has been around for 5 years. So there are a lot of people that could have gotten over bigger than some of the reactions that some of these old people like Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin are getting right now. And Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin as your tag team champions, going up against Brody King and Buddy Matthews, I like that. I did notice on Collision that they made sure to have the Gates of Agony have a little promo. They're big dudes. And I have a feeling that we're going to be moving a lot more into that. So if you don't like old, you already don't like AEW, I guess. And if you don't like big, well, you're probably not going to like what's coming up.
I think big is the least of our problems.
Big Bill and Chris Jericho. It's happening at some point.
Hey, I'm excited for Big Bill versus Hobbs.
But
listen, hold on.
I
got some stuff I got.
Big Bill.
We're getting way ahead of ourselves here. Okay, the big story today is not that they missed a shot on Dynamite. The big story here is actually this NXT rating.
Samoa Joe missed a shot,
dude. NXT did 812,000 viewers in a .22. Okay, do you know what was on NXT? Nothing.
Well,
they didn't promote anything. We had Ridge Holland and Tony D for the North American title. That was promoted. We had Lexus King and Charlie Dempsey in a Heritage Cup match. This feud must continue. They advertised the main event, obviously, with Oba Femi and Eddie Thorpe. But I looked at the quarters. Because, we always have these people on Twitter or whatever. They got a meme. The meme this time is Eddie Thorpe is turning around NXT. Okay. Well, that is why it's important to have the quarter hours.
Ava's incompetence is turning around NXT.
I can tell you what's turning around NXT, and it's just like they're whatever you think about the show.
How about they got a freaky rating?
Hold on, Mike. Jiminy Christmas. Let me get through this.
All right.
Whatever you think about this show, and I think a lot about this show, trust me, the fact of the matter is, to this audience, they are getting people over. That's literally the only explanation. You look at the quarters, and it's relatively, a straight line, but there are certain things that did much better than usual. And one of them is the women. They have done whatever you think of individual women. You know, we make fun of Cora Jade's interviews and, you know, Kalani's. There's stuff you can like, but you know, they're all learning. But the fact is, they're getting these characters over. And that segment that had that, you know, all that heat.
Roxanne.
There was tremendous heat for Roxanne and Cora Jade when they came out to square off with Bailey and Julie. And obviously, Bailey was there.
That helps.
But that segment did almost 900,000 viewers. Trick Williams, every time he came out, they did big numbers for Trick Williams. Let's see what did really well. The women's deal, and also Trick was in that segment. We had Jada Parker and Carmen Petrovich did very, very well. But that was also a segment with like 5,000 just characters in it. It was a the end of the Parker match with Petrovich, a metaphor segment with Sol Ruka, Zarya, and Gigi Dolan, and Tatum. Again, a bunch of women. We had the Brooks Jensen and Nico versus D'Angelo family, and a segment with Axiom, Nathan Frazier, Josh Briggs, and Inamura. So that did very well. And then, like, the main event, I mean, it did good as well. It didn't do the highest thing on the show, so it's not Eddie. But, you know, Oba Femi and Eddie Thorpe for the title did almost 800,000 viewers. So it wasn't like the show opened gigantic and fell through the show, and that's why the number was up. You know, it opened at 846, and it just stayed there. It went up when we had the women's segment. It dropped a little bit, but not much. Went back up for the end of another women's match. Dropped a tiny bit for like a double ad break. When, by the way, that 880 for all of the women, that was a double ad break segment. Do you know how rare it is to have a double ad break segment be the highest rated quarter on the show?
It's like seeing a double rainbow.
So literally, without that double ad break, that would have easily done over 900,000 viewers. So they're just getting people over. I mean, that's it. So good for them. Good for them.
It is, and it's another week, like 3 or in a row that's up, and that's a good thing. But I also... they often are under 700,000. They'll do like 698. And if they happen to do that next week, it's not an indictment on them not doing exactly what you've been saying that they've been doing. I just think that in this case, it could very well be just a little bit of a freaky high number, but we'll find out. But if it does drop next week, again, people that want to point to it and say it's not working, that's not true, because everything you said and you've been laying out is absolutely true.
Well, it's also not doing that. The average over the last 90 days is slightly over 700,000 viewers.
Yeah, but when you go back and you start ticking back a little bit, you see 632 and 593.
Well, sure, those happen here and there, but that's more when they have a giant. They have competition. That does affect them. It doesn't affect them as much as other shows, but your 90-day average is over 700,000. So the show's doing pretty well.
It is. Well, and again, for the reasons that you laid out, and they do have intriguing characters and people that are easy to get behind, and we made fun of sometimes some of the colors and things like that, but everybody, for as many generic blondes as we say that they have, everybody does have somewhat of a unique look, at least the people that matter.
And then a couple of notes. Brendan Thurston had the SmackDown quarters. And if you look at SmackDown, I mean, it's that last hour dies. It doesn't matter what show it is. I mean, the last hour dropped all the way down to a 1.1 million.
That late NBA game is always going to
that was a double
butt.
It was a double ad break segment. But the fact is, like, the first 2 hours of SmackDown do well. And, you know, the segment where they had Jimmy and Carmelo and the Bloodline. I mean, whatever people think about the Bloodline, it still did 1.6 million. It was like the highest rated thing on the show. So, anyway, more news after the break. Observer Live. This guy goes, what's turning around NXT, my friend, is the fact that they actually have somebody who knows how to book coherently, and the promotion is it run by... He's trying to say the promotion is not run.
Is he throwing shade at Conan?
By infantile behavior. But you won't put this on the show today. Wow.
Was he talking about AEW, AAA?
He actually talked about
Noah?
infantile behavior. No, he's talking about AEW, of course. Talked about infantile behavior and then dared me to put this on the show. That was kind of funny.
Well, there you go.
But listen, okay? I got to say this about NXT.
Oh, boy.
All right? I don't know, man. The show is very hit and miss, okay? I know this is another one of those memes. Shawn Michaels Booker of the Year. I mean, there's stuff that he does. It's great. I will say he's doing a good job. But, man, if you watch this show, just the booking of the Heritage Cup alone this year should disqualify him from Best Booker. Like, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but this... So they bring the Heritage Cup from NXT UK to NXT here in the US. And at the beginning, there's just this presumption that we all watched NXT UK and we all know everything about the Heritage Cup, okay? So, like, every now and then they'll throw up a screen with, like, all these... Like, it's a screen like this big of all the Heritage Cup rules. It'll flash up there for a second and they get going. And I think there's an assumption that, like, we all know the Heritage Cup rules. And so after we see a bunch of Heritage Cup matches, then we start to think that we actually might know the Heritage Cup rules. And then we have just like this whole thing. I've ranted about it before. It's like Ava screws, or Eddie Thorpe gets screwed in a match. Ava says, I can't reverse the decision. The referee's decision is final. Then, we have a segment where Jada Parker wants a match, and she goes, I can't let you wrestle twice on one show. Then, literally, the next two shows, she forces the tag team champions, one of them, to wrestle twice on the same show. Then, we have a Heritage Cup match that ends via DQ, and a guy wins the title. And then Ava's like, I'm not even sure if the title can change hands on a DQ. It's uncertain. And so, even though 2 weeks ago she said, I can't, the referee's decision is final, she reverses the decision, even though one of the performers says the referee's decision is final. And then the cup goes back, and then on top of that, some of you might remember this, some of you might not. There was a whole thing where everybody on the chat was looking back because everybody remembered that there was a match for the Heritage Cup and one of the participants won. But because he didn't have a corner person, it didn't count. Because allegedly the rules were you have to have a corner person, okay? And everybody was looking back to try to find out when or where it was. They all remembered this, even though I didn't remember it, but Vinny remembered it, but nobody could find it. And then, after all of this discussion, well, out comes the champion. The Heritage Cup champion came out this week with no corner man. It's not mentioned at all that you need a corner man or you do not. I was like, oh my God, why is this so hard? Why is this so hard? The answer is, I don't know why this is so hard.
Can I refresh your memory?
Try. I'd like to hear this.
Charlie Dempsey wanted to...
This was much further back.
Lexus King wanted to have the match, but he had no corner person, so one was assigned to him.
No, he wanted one assigned.
That's how we got William Regal.
No, he wanted one assigned. But Ava said, I can't assign you a corner man.
You have to find one.
You have to find one, and he found Regal. Well, apparently that wasn't necessary because he came out with no corner man this week, and it was never mentioned. So, no, this is not a perfectly booked promotion, not even close.
Well, at least nobody is drinking bleach or getting tied up backstage, I guess. I don't know, but I think.
Have you watched the show? Do you know how many people have been murdered?
Well,
literally murdered on NXT.
Allegedly. We do know they have a very dangerous parking lot, although they seem to have pivoted away from that. All the drama now takes place in that little kitchen area where everybody gathers there at the Peach Pit of NXT. And I think that's the thing about the show. It is like a teen NBC 90s show. It is Saved by the Bell. It is wrestling the college years. I mean, that's what makes the show what it is, and it's what also helps gloss over some of the fact that sometimes the wrestling is not good. Sometimes the angles and the stories are exactly the way you explain them. Completely ridiculous. But it is an easy 2 hours to watch for the most part, and I think people give it grace and shoot at bail for that reason, because it's entertaining enough to get you through,
brother.
But here's the thing: the best stuff that's been going on, whether anybody likes it or not, until it is not, is still anything associated, wrapped up with the bloodline right now. And if you are going to give out the, magical Booker of the Year award, it is really hard not to go and put it in the hands of the main roster of WWE, whoever you want to give all of that credit to.
We didn't even mention that Lexis King won the Heritage Cup via DQ.
Yes.
And Ava ruled, I don't think the cup can change hands via DQ, and so she reversed the decision and then announced a match for the Heritage Cup, not under Heritage Cup rules.
Vic, what's going on here, man?
I know the text message chain I'm going to get in like an hour. I don't care. I don't care. Now, Nikki Bella.
Yes.
WrestleVotes reporting significant discussions regarding her return to WWE.
It's Rumble season, baby.
She was on TV like 3 weeks ago. She's 99% going to be in the Royal Rumble. So that's the story. She's coming back. I don't know about Brie, but I guess we shall.
I don't.
We shall see. Now, before I get into the full Dynamite review, there are two things we got to talk about.
Is it possible?
Number one.
Fine.
Number one. Why won't Tony have production meetings? This is the number one question. It's not just me asking. I hear wrestlers asking about it on a weekly basis. Why can't we just do a production meeting so everybody's on the same page and everybody knows what's happening? Tony refuses to have production meetings. I don't know why.
If we only had time.
But last night we had multiple. I mean, last night was like, whatever you thought about the show, first off, you had two men doing dives off the balcony and the lighting rig, moonsaults. Both of them got missed by the camera. They then did not show a replay of it for an entire hour. It was an hour before we finally got a replay. Then we go to a match for the tag team titles, and whatever you think about that match, and I got a lot to say about not so much the match, but like the title run of Private Party, they played the wrong music for the tag team champions as they came down to the ring.
Just to ice their cake.
Yes, and that was a good one. And then, to their credit, they were like, hey, we had a big match last week. Hobbs faced Jon Moxley for the title, and he got screwed. So they showed like a clip or two of it, and then they said the follow-up was on Collision on Saturday night. And I'm like, oh my God, they're actually going to show the big win by Hobbs in that Collision 12-man tag. They literally cut to a clip of Hobbs and Big Bill having a stare down, and they never showed the finish. Then we had a segment, which I really liked, with Chris Daniels and Hangman Page, where prior to the angle, they didn't bother showing one single solitary clip of Hangman ending Chris Daniels' career on the show last week. Not one clip of it.
Thanks for the blade,
He murdered this guy. And so, I had a friend who was there, not a wrestler, but like a fan, and they were like, man, Chris Daniels came out, and it was dead silent. Because likely a lot of the people who went to the show didn't watch Collision, and they're like, yeah, okay, Chris is out here in a neck brace, like, what's going on? They didn't understand the gravity of it, nothing. He just came out, and then he told Hanger that he ended his career, and then, that was it. And there was no footage of it afterwards or anything. It's like, these are all These are all on their own little things. But these little things all matter. And they're little things that when there's 4, 5, 6 of them on a single show, it's like these all add up to what's happening here. Why aren't we like I like it. You showed a recap of something that happened last week. But show me the recap of what's important. Like, obviously, Hangman and Daniels, something here is leading to something. Because when Daniels said, you ended my career, and then he pats the guy and he goes, I hope you find happiness, and he walks off. Hangman's virtually in tears about what he has done. Like, this is going to be something. So how in the world did we not even get a clip of the match, the murder of Daniels by Hangman? If you're going to put Hobbs over, which I like, and you're going to show a recap, how do you not show him actually winning the match? The only reason that we know that he won the match, if you didn't watch Collision, is because Jericho in a promo mentioned, you won the match, but you didn't beat Big Bill. That's the only reason that we have any idea that Hobbs actually won that match. So, yeah. I just think there's some little things that could be fixed. One of them would be do a production meeting so we can all go through everything, see what we need to do. But we're not getting that. We'll talk about the show after the break. Observer Live.
Welcome to the special tour of Figure 4 Weekly Headquarters, as promised. Today I will be accompanied by my assistant Vincenzo, so let's get moving. Hey, don't worry about it. Today's a special day, I'll drive. Vince, today's gonna be a good day, so let's not F anything up, okay? Now, I'd like to tell everybody, I just want to give a short speech on the way to the compound here today, and that is that we are going through very tough economic times right now. Right, Vince? It's a time of stock market crashing, the yen is devalued, a time of woe and want. And many of you watching this right now, for all I know, are unemployed. But the good thing is, and I always like to look on the bright side, as Vince is well aware, the good news is that for every dark cloud, there is a silver lining. And the silver lining is that Figure 4 Weekly is doing great. It's a huge success right now. Subscriptions are up, quality is down, profit margins are skyrocketing, things are going very well. So the one thing is that I don't want to make it seem like money is everything, because money cannot buy happiness, but what it can buy is enormous houses, and that makes me happy. So we will be going to see my enormous house, the Figure 4 Weekly compound, and that's where we're heading right now.
Back on the show, Bryan Alvarez here, Wrestling Observer Live. This guy here says, make this show 2 hours. No. If 1 hour is not enough, that's why we have WrestlingObserver.com. That's why we have all of these other podcasts. Like, there's plenty. If you want to hear a full review of NXT and AEW for 90 minutes, commercial-free, it will be on the Bryan and Vinny Show tonight. WrestlingObserver.com, which has all of the shows, plus 15,000 archived shows. So if you want more, I got 15,000 hours for you. Or you can sign up on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. F4WOnline.com/Apple, F4WOnline.com/Spotify, F4WOnline.com/YouTube. And all of those, they're $9.99 a month. That's it, $9.99 a month.
Yeah.
84 podcasts. And most of them are over an hour. So you're talking like 100 hours a month of wrestling audio. If that's what you're looking for, that's what you need to do. But it's an hour here. So we got to get going.
Yeah.
Now, some quick notes. As noted, the full review will be tonight. But we open with, like, this opening segment, aside from the fact that they missed the shots, this segment was so awesome. Where essentially, Ospreay and Omega are going to have a face-to-face. Ospreay wants Omega to help him in this battle for the world title because the show is being held hostage by Moxley. But Omega's like, dude, last time we were in the ring, you tried to kill me with a move and a screwdriver. So, dude, it ain't going to happen. And so Don Callis comes out. Kenny goes after him. Out comes his crew, Archer and Cage and Takeshita and Kyle. And we got this wild, wild brawl all over the building. And the story of the building is, the angle is, in the brawl, well, Kenny and Will have to team up. And they manage to team up together and take out all the heels. And so they decide, you know what? We should be a team. And so they do a challenge for the Australia show of, I think it's going to be Takeshita and Fletcher against Will Ospreay and Kenny Omega for Grand Slam.
Which sounds
segment
pretty damn
was the
good.
best thing on the show by leaps and bounds. Great segment.
Great start.
But how do you miss a double moonsault? How?
WCW.
Like, how?
I don't know.
Then,
And the thing, hey, look, their production has been very good for the past several weeks. They have been doing a lot that's been very good. It just happens that this was not a good show several times for some things like this, and for sound, too.
Then we had the Hurt Business and Private Party for the AEW Tag Team titles. See, this is why you need to subscribe, because I don't have time to give all of my thoughts on what happened here. But I will give you the short version. If you want the long version, you can sign up.
No profanities, Brian.
Because that's the other problem. Okay? The two things are, I'm very happy the Hurt Business won the tag team titles.
Yes.
Because they come across as like a killer tag team. However, I cannot for the life of me explain why they're heels. And Private Party's AEW tag title run, I believe, was the worst title run anyone has ever had in the history of All Elite Wrestling. I will fight you if you believe otherwise. So it was.
You hear that, Layla Gray?
It was a travesty, this tag team title reign.
What,
for,
you don't think
for
the top-
so many reasons.
The top flight Leo and action stuff wasn't enough to set him up for Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin?
And you know, I'll talk about this more tonight, but you know what really irritates me about this Hurt Business thing?
Grinds your gears?
It grinds my gears. Because what is happening with the Hurt Business is exactly, it's not like it's something new. It is exactly what happened with Toni Storm. When Toni Storm was a heel, but everybody loved her, and so every babyface that Toni Storm faced was just neutered. Which is impressive because they were all women. But the point is, they were all neutered because you had all of these like babyface women squaring off against heel Tony, and all it did was kill every single one of these babyface women. Now it's the exact same thing. The Hurt Syndicate, the Hurt Syndicate, not one time.
Them Hurt folks.
Ever. Okay? I'm not talking like once or twice. Not one time ever has the Hurt Business or Syndicate been booed. So what they do is they go out there, and every babyface tag team that they face, the fans... what happened in the match last night was exactly what I told you was going to happen on Observer Live yesterday. Go back and listen to it. I said, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The Hurt Syndicate is going to win the tag titles. They are going to work heels, but they will be cheered the entire time. The baby faces will make a comeback and be booed. And like exactly what I told you was going to happen happened. Exactly.
Hey, you didn't say
which is
Mark
funny,
Hunt would
by
be
the
put
way.
through a table.
Which is funny because on the chat they're like, well, Tony doesn't want to do he doesn't want to do a production meeting because like word will get out about and this word's going to get out about what's going to happen. I tell you what's going to happen before every show. You looked at the lineup last night and you didn't know who was going to win every match that was announced on that show. Name one match last night where you were like, I think I know who's going to win, but I'm not sure, and you were surprised. You knew who was going to win every single match. I told you not only who was going to win the tag team titles, but exactly what was going to happen in the match, exactly as it did. I don't need inside information for that. I just watch the show. So do a production meeting so that everyone else on the show knows what's going on, and so like it comes off great on television. It's not going to leak. So anyway, not to mention, you tape Collision half the time, so it's a taped show. Everything leaks, right? So, we'll talk more about that tonight. I didn't even scratch the surface. Now, Tony Storm did a promo. We had 2 Harley Cameron segments. In this one, she went back and forth with Australian slang. Renee was baffled. In the second one, she wants a shot at Mercedes' title. And so I swear to God this happened. Mercedes goes, you have never won a match in AEW. Not last year, not this year. So no, you don't deserve a championship match. And she walks away, and they go back to the announcers, and Excalibur goes, Harley Cameron made a great case. Like, no, she didn't. She made a terrible case. Now, it has been pointed out to me that Harley has not lost every single solitary match. She did apparently win a couple of matches on Dark, and she was on the winning side of a tag team match. But other than that, she's never won a singles match on television. So, no, that's not a good case. We had a Jeff Jarrett segment where he called out Jon Moxley because he wants the world title at 57 years old. Claudio beats him up, but then Jarrett says, Claudio, how about this? If I beat you next week, I get a shot at Jon Moxley. So it's on. Jarrett and Claudio next week. If Jarrett wins, he gets a shot at Jon Moxley. I do not expect him to win. Swerve and AR Fox, because as noted yesterday, they have wrestled in the past. Thus, we put this match together. Swerve, he beats him.
This took the place of Samoa Joe and Nick Wayne.
And it's a good thing that we did not have a production meeting to leak Swerve defeating AR Fox, who has not had a match on Dynamite since November of 2023. Not 2024, 2023. In fact, Swerve won. And then afterwards, Ricochet attempted to kill Prince Nana with scissors.
Threatened.
That's not nice. And Swerve then threatened to kill him in 2 weeks.
Well, look, Brian, back to your point earlier about what fans will cheer. Remember what got Hangman Page into this rage in the first place. Fans cheered Swerve Strickland and Prince Nana breaking into a man's house and draping a shirt over his newborn baby. Which, by the way, still, Hangman Page.
He's still angry.
Where was your ADT security alarm? They're going to take your dog next.
Yeah. Then we had MJF doing a promo, thankfully much shorter than last week. He's still burying MJF. And then that's when Hangman came out, and we had the segment with Chris Daniels where Hangman was very, very, very sad.
Now, it is nice that they crossed paths, MJF and Hangman, because, again, it links those two together at least with a little bit of a thread for something possibly later. So I do like that when all the main eventers have some sort of contact with each other.
This guy thinks Jarrett's going to win because otherwise the story is dumb.
Nah, like
No,
the Owen.
no, you don't get it, dude. He didn't say he needs to win the title in the next month. He said he's going to win the title this year.
This is the last year.
Moxley already has a title challenger, Copeland, and obviously they're doing something with MJF and Jarrett. So MJF is going to screw Jeff Jarrett, and Jeff Jarrett will need to continue his path, which I believe will end with him winning the Owen, and that's how he gets his championship match.
That makes sense.
Because Jeff Jarrett has to win the Owen Hart Cup. Whatever you think of the guy.
It's a feel-good story for a feel-good tournament. This is not the Continental Classic. You can do good stories and happy stories related to the Owen, and Jeff Jarrett winning the Owen, standing there next to Martha. Makes sense to me.
And then we had Jamie Hayter, Julia Hart, which Jamie
You didn't
won.
know who was going to win that one.
It's 1-1, and we'll have a third match down the road. That's the story. And then
Match.
the main event was Copeland, Cope and Pac. Cope versus Pac.
What's up with Pac's picture that he has where he's staring all
I like it.
crazy-eyed? Oh, I don't know.
So, I had no inside information, but I knew Cope was going to win. And he did. And then afterwards, we had the big schmaz with the Death Riders coming out to kill Cope.
I don't get it. I understand why Swerve wouldn't have any friends. Why does Adam Copeland...
No, they played up that he has friends. It's FTR. They got murdered.
But
And
why are they
the
his
Rock
only
and Roll
friends?
Express, and they got murdered.
Why are they his only friends?
And then finally, Jay White came out.
He is not connecting
To
with
help
the young
him.
people on the roster. You know what? You're right. Maybe it is the olds that are causing all the problems there.
Well, there are a
Cope's
lot of-
got no friends.
There are a lot of old wrestlers on this show. And
Older. Not old. Older.
no, they're old.
Are we old?
I am old. And if they're older than me, I'm afraid they are old. So, and
Still
there are
effective,
many on
though.
this show that are older than me.
And I don't hate it. I love what he's doing. I think he looks great, all that stuff. I don't know if Cope and Mox is what they are going to want it to be. Now, Lashley and Shelton Benjamin being older, they're over like gangbusters. I think if you did Moxley and Lashley, or even Cope and Lashley, I don't know if the Mox-Cope scenario right now, with how weak FTR was leading into all of this stuff, I don't know if it's going to be that interesting of a match. We'll see, though.
Well, we will see. In fact, I don't know when, but we will see at some point down the road.
Gotta let things play out.
All right, let's see. This person says, I wish I would have done a different prediction this year. I would have said Jeff Jarrett wins at All In Texas to immediately lose post-match to Christian cashing in. I don't think... Here, I will say this.
At their
If
Mania, no.
Jarrett wins the Owen, I do not think they're going to announce the winner gets the shot at All In. Because I do not see Jarrett fighting for the world title at All In. I think it'll be a TV special or something like that where he gets his title shot. I do not think it's going to be at All In. Back in a moment. Observer Live.
Arrived in AEW, I really think it's elevated the women's division. And it's not to talk badly about the rest of the women, but you've elevated the women's division.
I mean, that's why I came here to AEW.
Right.
To put women's wrestling on the map, to make women's wrestling global. And now we are coming to Globe Life Field next year. And women's wrestling has just been better than ever, and I just love being here in AEW so much. I feel like our women's division is one of the greatest women's division in the entire world.
Very cool. And this event is so big, it is a destination for fans all over the world to come here.
It is.
It's going to be not only an event on pay-per-view, but it's going to be an entire week of things for fans to do. So this is our big event.
Let's go, guys.
What we've done in 5 years. Yeah. It's very humbling to be here. I get emotional because I think of what AEW's given me. You know, the wrestling industry, when I first started, I think about what the wrestling industry kind of like represented. I saw a lot of, it can chew you up and spit you out and leave you with nothing. And I was really nervous starting my career because I didn't want to be chewed up and spit out and left with nothing. But when AEW started, it felt like a family. It felt like a place that could take someone like me and make something out of it. You know, a lot of people are very consumed with their public image, and they care so much about how they're perceived to the public, but inside they're dying. But the cool thing with AEW is I can look at myself in the mirror and know exactly who I'm looking at. This company gives me so much. They let me do what I want to do out there in the ring in front of all of you, and they let me do what I want to do in my personal life. I am climbing Mount Everest in April. And I'm going to take that AEW flag and I'm going to plant it on top of the goddamn world and remind everybody what AEW is capable of. And then when I climb down from that mountain, And when I climb down from that mountain, I am coming to Globe Life Field. And as a whole, AEW as a family, we're going to remind the world exactly what this company is capable of. Because it doesn't happen with just us. It happens with every single one of you. We wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for you guys. So thank you for coming out. Thank you for continuing to show the love.
The show, Bryan Alvarez here, Mike Sempervive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy. What you doing? What you got over there? What you grabbing at?
Hey, if you're not a subscriber,
Yes.
And you missed After Dark, it's replaying tonight at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern on Sports Byline. And if you don't have a Sports Byline affiliate, all you have to do is grab the TuneIn Radio app, which is free, and find Sports Byline on TuneIn Radio. And you can listen to this show live every day, noon Pacific, 3 Eastern. And tonight, Thursday, After Dark will air at midnight Pacific, 3 a.m. Eastern, which isn't when the show should air. It's an overnight show. So check that out tonight on TuneIn Radio. Perhaps I'll listen if I'm not in bed, which I plan to be. But that's coming up tonight and tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. After Dark will be replaying as well. And hopefully down the road, it'll continue to replay with past episodes as well, because many of them are evergreen episodes.
Can we get this fixed, please? I don't know who's in charge of quality control.
We can't see anything.
But I like Rick Tittle and everything.
We see a white blank screen.
Titillating Sports is not on right now.
Oh.
Come on,
that's
now.
on you, Dom. Fix that.
Please.
Yeah.
My God. Oh, by the way, you know what you can also do through TuneIn? If you look for podcasts, you can search in there, and there's the wrestling news, which you can update yourself on every single day of the year. No commercials, no paywall, just the wrestling news with me.
Wow. The wrestling news, you say?
Yes.
All right. I'm going to check it out right after we go off the air here, because I didn't talk enough about wrestling news today. But I'll be back later on tonight with Vinny, Bryan and Vinny Show, AEW NXT, 90 minutes. Check it out. We got a lot to talk about, brother. WrestlingObserver.com, as well as Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. We'll talk to you next time, Wrestling Observer Live.